All right, here you see the components of the Gilded Grit Junk Journal Kit. And I absolutely am in love with this kit. I'm in love with the gorgeous flowers, the way they kind of all blend in with some of the vintage looks. This is the Folio, all the Ephemera. I have cut everything out. I have not inked anything yet, but I will be inking. You can take a look at the video for the Antique Scrapbook Album Junk Journal Kit, and it'll show you how I do the stamps. And I'll link to that. I'll link to that below in the details below. I have not done some of the corners, and I have not done some of the hole punching, but I'll do that later. I always do this with my little corner rounder because it's more precise. If you don't have one of these, you can certainly do it by hand. I'm just not a very precise cutter, so I like doing it with that. So I have printed the pages. I'm going to tear these, so I haven't cut my little strip off the edge. I do have the ability on my printer to print a PDF all the way to the edge. But when I do that, for some reason, sometimes the ink bleeds onto the back. So if I'm printing two-sided, and I think it's my printer, I just think it's old. It is old, and it's just not, it doesn't like to do that. But when I print two-sided all the way to the edge, I get some bleed from this page into that page. And sometimes, like on this one, it might not have mattered, but sometimes, like on the Summer Sunshine Kit or the even the Antique Scrapbook Album Kit, it matters. It kind of messes up the back page. So anyway, that's why I have this. Plus, that gives me just a little bit of room to be able to tear and get that vintage worn look along the edge without losing any of the design. So I print most of them this way and then either cut or tear. And these I will be tearing. To tear, I just get on a flat surface. I have a metal ruler right here. I'll take this metal ruler and I'll put it down and hold it firm and rip the page up, and then that just rips off that little edge and gives me a worn look. You can buy the fancy different shapes of rulers. You can buy those little tools. Like I've got one right here. This little tool will rough up the edges. I'll show you how it does. You can kind of see how it'll rough up the edges. And I do that sometimes if I get too clean of a cut, or too clean of a tear, rather. But this is tedious to me. Somebody gave this to me. I would not have bought it. I'm sure it was not very expensive, but it just, if you have one of those, you can use it. If not, just tearing, and you can even use the edge of scissors to get that rough look if you want to. All right, so I pulled out some additional things to go with this. I am going to ink, as I mentioned. I'll probably use the coffee some, but I also pulled out a few corals. This is Crackling Campfire. This one's actually coral. I've got one that's a little gold metallic that I may use, and then this is more of a rusty color that I thought would blend well with some of the inner pages, especially. Let's pull this one out here. So I'll be inking some with those. I've got pulled out some ribbon, lace, two kinds of lace, a crew color, and then some white. I'll probably do something with those. I got some ribbon here that's kind of a gold hue that I thought was nice. I might use that on some of the tags. I did pull out the pink chiffon, but it might be too pinkish. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'll use that or not. I have this piece of, I don't even know what this is. It kind of feels like chiffon. It came out of one of the chintzy rugs that I dismantled. And I just love it. So I think this might end up being something to do with the closure, because of how well it blends and just how yummy it is. But I don't know what that'll look like exactly yet. Here's some other chiffon that I pulled out. I pulled out a couple of other little cards with some gold kind of gilded look. I'll antique those a little bit. Got a paper clip here. Got a little heart on with some gold on it. I like the gilded piece look here, but I also want to pull in some more metallic gold, which is why I've got the ribbon. And I'll pull in, I've got a metallic pen that I may do some edging with as well. I pulled in a little angel paper doll, angel baby. I might put her in here somewhere. And then I was trying to decide how I wanted to bind this one. Definitely wanted something special for the binding, not just standard staple or hand sewn with one or two signatures, or with just one signature. I was pretty sure I wanted two signatures, but then I found these in my stash. These are the top pieces. It's an old shoemaker fabric sample, upholstery sample book, you know, one of those big books. And so when I pulled out the fabric samples, of course, that was on this end. At the top of each fabric sample, there was the piece of paper that was glued on there that tells, you know, the details about that particular fabric. And I just picked this stack up to move it earlier, and when I did, look what fell off of the back. Look how perfect that is. And it's already reinforced. It will make a fabulous spine for this particular book, a journal. So of course it'll be a little narrower than that, but I'm so excited about that. I just think that's going to be gorgeous, and it blends very well with all the other pieces that I pulled together. So I'm really excited about this one. I'm going to get started on it. I will, of course, show you, we'll stop midpoint when I get ready to assemble and show you how to assemble. I did print a few extra pages, so some that are I've got 3 pages plus the cover that are single-sided. So the cover is single-sided, and then 3 pages that are single-sided, and then the rest of them are double-sided. And so these 3 pages will be the blank side to assemble the journal. And I'll link to that treasure books video that I've talked about in just about every video. I'll link to that again below, so if you haven't seen that one yet, you can. And I'll show you the process, but Natasha from Treasure Books has a much more detailed video that is phenomenal to watch. So I'll link. Excited to get started on this one. We'll be back to show you some progress before too long. All right, here's the Gilded Grit journal kit, bound and ready for the final prepping. So I'll move this out of the way. If you'll recall, this was a piece of a fabric sample kit from a upholstery place, a furniture place, and it had this cardboard already, or like thicker than cardstock, thinner than cardboard, already glued to the back of it, so I didn't have to reinforce this fabric with bookbinding tape or anything like that. What I learned in doing that, and I have several more of these, I've got a stack of them, but what I have learned is they are hard to work with. That backing is so stiff and sturdy that it's hard to get, even with a scorer machine, you know, a scoring mechanism or some sort. It's hard to get a smooth score line. It's hard to get a smooth rounded fold. It's difficult to work with. I probably won't use this again, but I do like the way that it looked. As I've mentioned to you before, I'm not one that will measure exactly and then try to get it to fit with the glue. I like to have it long enough, glue it on there, and then I'll trim the edges off. And since I use pinking shears here, I will trim these off with pinking shears as well. So that, and there'll be a little bit of an end to it. It won't go right to the edge of the right to the edge of the cover. It'll stick out just a little bit, but that's the look I'm going for. As you can see, some of the pages stick out a little bit as well. Now, I may cover those up because there may be some lace or something along the edge of this once I get these a little further along. And I will definitely ink and distress the edges a little bit on a lot of these. But we're in a pretty good place. So this is two signatures, two fairly small signatures that were put together. If you can kind of see, there's two signatures, and then the outside page on each signature is printed one-sided, so the outside of each signature is blank. The inside of the cover is blank. And so when you glue all those blank pages together, all your blank pages disappear, and you have this nice journal that will, once I trim it off, it will open flat. It's not going to be quite as flat as some of the others because this binding is so stiff. And I just didn't think about that when I chose to use it. So that's part of the creative process. That's part of learning and trying something different and seeing if you like it. I like the way this looks. I probably won't use this kind of stuff again. So the next thing I will do is finish up the binding, prep the edges, decide if I'm going to put a trim of any sort on the book cover, and then start working on the inside. So when we come back, you will see a fairly close to finished product, or possibly really close to finished product. And we'll talk about the process. We'll talk about the process from now to then. See you soon. All right, here we are with the kind of final project, final version of the Gilded Grit journal. And you'll recall I talked about this piece of upholstery sample that had a backing on it. I was real excited about using it for a book spine. I thought it was going to be perfect for a journal, for journal binding. You probably heard later in the video where I said it was really hard to work with, and I probably won't use those again. That is true, and I'm going to have to go back. If you'll notice, it's pulling away a little bit in a couple of places, which is very strange to me. But I think it's because of how stiff that binding is, and I've opened it and moved it around so much that it's just pulling away a little bit. So I'm going to have to go back and rethink the binding, or at least to reinforce it a little bit. I did choose not to. I had this yummy piece of whatever it is, chiffon. It feels like chiffon. I don't know if that's what it is or not, but I had the intention of possibly closing it with this. I changed my mind and decided it needed a more functional closure, because it is a little bit gator mouth. You can see I've got it kind of squished, but it's pretty full. So I decided this was better on something else. This is the only few pieces of the upholstery fabric that is left, and then one little envelope, and then that chiffon was all I had that I didn't use on this project. So let me move the tray out of the way and show you. I did use a piece of the ephemera to hold the elastic cord. I have a good bit of this elastic cord in a couple of different colors, and I don't even remember where I got it. I don't think I bought it. I think we found it somewhere. Anyway, when I use this elastic cord, I tie it real tight, put a glob of fabric tack or fabric fusion, some sort of fabric sticky glue on the knot and along the where it's going to be under the ephemera, and then of course I glue the ephemera down, so it's not going anywhere. That's a little rough right there, but not rough enough to catch on anything, and it's where the cord is. So anyway, you'll see I put some of the vintage lace along the edges of the cover, and I did that after I put the signatures together, so I had the opportunity of putting it in between the cover and the inside page of the signature, and I really thought about doing that, but I decided that that would have covered up a good piece of the texture, and I didn't really want to do that. So I went ahead and assembled the book, the journal, and then put the lace on there, and I like the way that looks. Lots of torn edges, and that I used pink and shears in a couple of places just to give it a little bit of character. A little collaging there, book tab. I'm really loving using some of this brown paper. I'm about out of it. I have a stack of it, but it's the real thick kind like you get in packages, and I'm not sure how it will do, but I'm going to gather up some more of those bags. I really like using that. Most of these just have been inked and distressed around the edges. Not a whole lot of needs to be done to them. They're so pretty as they are. Here's a little corner pocket with some of the ephemera in it, some white lace attached to one of the tags. Here's our belly band and our folio. I think I've already showed you the folio, but we'll look at it again just to be sure. It is very simple. It has the brown paper pages, a little pocket on the front with a couple of the pieces of ephemera in it, a little side pocket on the back, and that's our folio. This I'm very excited about. This is a fold out, as you can see. This was one of the extra pages that I printed single-sided. So what I did was I glued down the sides, but then I had this zipper pack. And if you order anything from Amazon, like, sorry, this might be TMI, underwear, socks, bras, slips, anything like that, almost always they come in these plastic, nice, heavy-duty plastic bags with the zipper. One of these really quiet, easy-to-slide zippers. The little slider thing will slide right off if you slide it too far. But I saved those. I saved those bags. And on this one, I just trimmed off the zipper piece and glued it between the pieces of paper. So now I have a little zipper pocket in my journal. And I love that. I've done this in a couple of the ones that I made for myself. And they're great for holding receipts or photos or things like that. In my meditation journal, I actually put things in it. I use it as a give it to God kind of envelope or place. I will write down what I'm worried about on a couple of little pieces of paper that I have in that journal, and then I'll write it down and I'll put it in here and I'll say, okay, God, it's yours now. You tell me how to handle it, tell me how to deal with it, and then I zip it shut and kind of use that as a, let me get it out of my mind, out of my way, and put it in the zipper pocket. Obviously, whoever ends up with this journal can use it for whatever they want to use it for. It has the journal cards in it for now, but I love a zipper pocket in a journal. We'll flip out page, another craft paper page, another book tab. Here is our little paper angel, or our angel girl that we had to put in here, and I did leave her wings just kind of sticking off. You know, you can see when it's closed it sticks out a little bit further, but I did leave her wings sticking off just a little bit. I just thought that added a little bit of character to it. Here's a pocket that doesn't really have anything in it yet, but there's room for something. Not much doing here. Here's another flip out, little paper clip that has a that's one of the cards that I told you I found and thought blended well here. I did say early on that I was going to use a metallic gold paint pen or ink pen of some sort to do some trimming or some embellishment. I haven't done that yet, and I kind of think I've decided not to, but I may change my mind and do it later. But I haven't done that yet. Here's one of the stamps from the Ephemera pack. A few more collaging and another page tab. Here's some tags in a little pocket. Here's another belly band made out of a piece of the Ephemera with some bookmarks stuck down in there. Another little collage area. More pages, another flip out with more tags. So we got a fold out there. And then our just a paper clip holding our Polaroid, our large Polaroid, and a piece of the Ephemera. And then a little collage there with some of the stamps. And then, of course, the vintage lace on the back cover to match the front cover. So there we have it. I'm pleased with how this one turned out, even though this was a pain, and I got to go back and figure out what to do with the area there that's coming off. But overall, I'm pleased with it. I think it's a pretty kit. I'm just in love with some of the grungy, vintagey pieces, that light pink. I just think it's gorgeous. I just think it's gorgeous. And I have an idea of who may end up with this, and she is going to love it. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this creation, and I hope you enjoy creating your own.